So I wanted to touch on my Dear Authors video as a whole because they actually have been some of the more controversial videos I've made on my channel. There's just kind of more of dissent on what I'm saying, people who dislike and don't leave comments, or people who leave pretty well thought out rebuttals to what I'm saying, and I welcome all of that except for dislikes with no comments. At least let me know what you think I can do wrong so that if I agree or if you're able to sway me, I can change what I'm doing and improve. But I want to reframe, or I guess contextualize, why I'm making those videos and what I hope they achieve, because obviously those are not being watched by authors 90% of the time. That's not the case. It's mostly just people who like reading books, surprisingly, who are watching those videos. And that's great, and I hope it helps you understand what I'm looking for when I review a book a little bit better. I hope it helps you understand my personal preferences, but I'm also trying to help people spot certain things I search for in overall quality of writing. Like in my relationships video, I made a very big point to point out the fact that many authors, yes, while they will build a romance, don't often build great friendships, or we're just told it's a good friendship and never really shown that. And that bugs me, so I wanted to kind of help educate my audience on what to look for. But there also is another underlying component of those videos. Here's my ideal scenario of an author watching one of my Dear Author videos. I really hope that an author can watch what I have to say, look at my constructive criticism, and go, I like that, I don't like that, that's neat, I'm gonna go do what I wanna do, and maybe keep a couple things in mind if they even think they're slightly worth thinking about. Because all those videos is my opinion. It's me just kind of screaming into the void what I think is working right now in writing, and more specifically fantasy more often than not, and what I think isn't. And if I'm able to kind of make a couple points authors agree with, great. But if those authors disagree with me, and a couple of people who have written books have emailed me or sent me things to say, hey, I disagree with this, here's why, that's awesome. That's starting a discussion, and that's pretty much the point of every video I make. I love seeing you guys talk in the comments, discuss, change each other's minds, get involved. That's phenomenal. But do not ever take any video I make as absolutely right. Everything in writing in terms of criticism can pretty much be argued as subjective. There's very few things in what you enjoy reading that are objective. Some people still like just the worst things, and you know what? They're not the worst things to them because they really like them, and that's fine. You can make a great case that 50 Shades of Grey is better than anything Ernest Hemingway wrote if you like certain things, and Hemingway isn't going to do those certain things. I kind of talked myself into a corner here. Moving on. I just do not like how frequently in those videos the conversation can turn a bit sour. There can be a bit of people saying, well, you're wrong, and there's like, they act like their opinions are objective. And if I come across like I'm encouraging that kind of behavior, please do not take it that way, because I do not think anything I've ever said in any review, anything I've ever said in any of my author deep dives or my Dear Authors or character examinations or what can be taken as just fact. When it comes to interpretation of art, everything is subjective. It really 100% truly is. And here's the funny thing, that opinion can be debated. There are people who think, no, there are hard lines, and you must like this, you cannot like this to be considered a decent reviewer. And while I often agree with their overall dislike or liking of what they're talking about, I still have the opinion that, no, you have no right to tell people that they are wrong for liking insert blank. To use the meme example, I do not fault anyone who actually has a deep love of Imagine Dragons. I know there's a meme to hate them online, but if they're your band, you do you. And if you don't like it when authors develop friendships in books and you want more time spent on romances, or just you don't like relationship building in general, great. You do you. Seek out those books. Wonderful. Start your own channel, review those books, and talk about why you don't like watching relationship building happen, or why you don't like a well-built, fleshed-out world in fantasy. I'm serious. If you prefer maybe more of a mushy, not hard rules fantasy world, great. It's not going to be what my video is about, but you have every right to go make that video. You have every right to have that opinion. We could take this conversation to like the super meta and be like, well, we don't even know if reality's real, man, so who can interpret art? That's kind of what it boils down to. Everything's crazy. We're in a pointless, crazy universe. We're all small, insignificant specks of dust, so just let people be happy and enjoy what they want to enjoy. Every time I make a video where I talk about this, and I try to encourage people to have their own opinions, don't take what I say as gospel, really research and think for yourself, the inevitable comment happens, well, then why should I watch your videos? Why should I care about your review at all? My review shouldn't just absolutely make you have a snap judgment on a book one way or the other. I can certainly influence whether or not you'll pick something up. If you know my taste, you know it lines up with yours, maybe something's going to interest you, maybe you'll go pick it up. That's kind of the point. It's not meant to change your opinion, it's meant to be more like a guiding factor. And maybe you've already read the thing I'm talking about, maybe if you already have a deep knowledge of it, just start a discussion. I don't ever want someone to come into one of my videos loving a book and at the end of my video hate that book, or come in, hate it, and leave loving it. Unless I really am able to point out some things you didn't notice, in which case, great, that's wonderful. If I'm changing your mind on that basis, I have no problem with that. But I'm not meaning to attack or degrade people for liking certain things. That's why in my Sort of Truth review, which is by far the most negative review on my channel, I take the time at multiple points in the video to say, if you like it, that's fine, this is great, I have a very harsh negative review of this book, but that does not mean you are wrong for liking it. And some people took that as me trying to like edge off haters. No, I wasn't trying to do that. All I wanted was the overall discussion and what people were focusing on to be my perspective, and then judge what their perspective might be off of that if they have not read the book. If you are someone who really likes the wish fulfillment protagonist, if you're someone who really likes kind of a more just fun, escapism book, Sort of Truth might be for you. It's not for me. I value originality very, very highly, probably too highly. I know it's strongly affected a couple of reviews of mine to a point where people have taken issue with it, and I get that. And I think the line between influence and ripping off is something that needs to be discussed a whole lot. Hint for the next Dear Authors video. And if people had already read Sort of Truth, and my video is not going to change whether or not they want to read it, they have, I would hope if they love the book, they don't leave some angry, I'm so dumb for not liking it comment. I hope their comment is, here's why I liked it, here's some things you might have missed, and that way I get to think about, reconsider, recontextualize my review, and maybe come back and soften up a bit. There have certainly been some Kingkiller fans who have softened me towards those books over the, years, since I've read the first book. I still don't love it, but I have a deep appreciation for what Patrick Rothfuss created, without a doubt. Now, there does tend to be a positive reinforcement echo chamber on BookTube. There tends to be this like wave of feeling where if someone likes something, yes, that's great, and let's convince them to like it more, and if they dislike something, let's try and point out why they should like it and convince them more and more. If you give a glowing review, I've seen very often people will come in and give negative comments and say, here's why I didn't like it for these reasons, it's bad for these reasons, etc., etc. But I still don't think that should ever be the prevailing message. It should be the start of a discussion, not a dragging down or a raising up. I don't like the comments where I can tell the mentality was, I'm going to prove this book is great, or I'm going to prove this book is terrible, because that's not what a book discussion, in my opinion, is about. It's about discussing the merits and figuring out why certain people like them, why certain people don't. So then the larger audience who, whether they watch the video, read the discussion, can figure out themselves if they will like it, discover some new things about the book that maybe they previously missed out on. That is really what I'm trying to do here. But let me know, do you disagree? Do you think there are very objective, this is good, this is bad things in art? I do very much so consider writing art, so I kind of tie those things hand in hand. Or do you think, no, everything in what people enjoy when it comes to reading is subjective? You have no right to tell someone that this is objectively bad when it comes to writing, because that is a discussion I've wanted to have for a very long time. I find it to be deeply interesting and not discussed enough, and with the amount of reviewers out there, you think it would be. So let me know, audience, in the comments down below. Do you think that things can be, when it comes to art, objectively bad, or no? Everyone has the right to like anything and say anything is good, or is, of course, which is probably the case, it more in the gray. But I'd like to see people kind of take some more polarized stances here and try to defend them. That's a good exercise when it comes to debate. Try to be respectful, keep an open mind, and use plenty of examples. I will be reading this comment section quite heavily in the future, and might even do a video where I go over people's responses, so this should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to be one of the amazing people who's kind of helping me actually write my own book a little bit with the posts that are going up there and the recommendations they're throwing up for me to look at and cite based off what I'm doing. It's a neat thing happening there as well. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Peace.